The job of State Attorney General is to represent the interests of the people of a state. All the people of a state. Not just certain people, not just certain institutions or organizations, but every person, every institution, every organization in a state. The problem with Missouri Attorney General Eric Schmitt is that he failed to live up to that standard. Instead of representing and defending the people of the state of Missouri, all the people of the state of Missouri, Missouri Attorney General Eric Schmitt instead chose to put the Archdiocese of St. Louis and the Catholic Church, his Archdiocese of St. Louis and his Catholic Church, before the needs and above the needs of the people of Missouri. I know that because I'm a survivor of the Catholic sex abuse crisis. My name is Chris O'Leary. In the late 1970s and early 1980s, I was sexually exploited, abused, assaulted, raped at the Church of the Immaculata in Richmond Heights, just up the hill from the Galleria, if you know St. Louis. In 2018, Missouri Attorney General, then Missouri Attorney General, now Senator Josh Hawley, opened an investigation of the Archdiocese of St. Louis. An investigation that itself was a sham. I know that because I attempted to participate in that investigation, submitted multiple entries into the website put up by then Missouri Attorney General, now Senator Josh Hawley. Never heard anything back from the people at the Attorney General's office. Nothing of substance. Just delays. That investigation was with Senator Hawley's appointment, or winning the election and going to Washington to be senator. The office of Missouri Attorney General was taken over by current Missouri Attorney General and Senate candidate Eric Schmitt. I then contacted Missouri Attorney General Eric Schmitt's office to ask for a statement of the status of the investigation of the Archdiocese of St. Louis. I did end up talking to an investigator from the Missouri Attorney General's office in February of 2019. And again, talked to that investigator and then a lawyer who drove over from Kansas City in July of 2019. A meeting that I actually thought went well, and I was impressed by the attitudes of both the investigator and the attorney from the Missouri Attorney General's office. This is the end of July 2019. Imagine my surprise, though, when a contact in the Attorney General's office told me that they were wrapping up the investigation of the Archdiocese of St. Louis just a few days after I had that meeting. Now, that meeting in late July 2019 was a heated one. I'd spent kind of 6 months getting my story together, getting my presentation together, and put together what I think was a devastating presentation of the facts regarding my case, my sexual abuse by Father Leroy Valentine. A presentation that was very well received by the office of Missouri Attorney General Eric Schmitt, his investigator, one of his lawyers. So I was stunned to find out that that investigation was being killed, was being shut down. I can only assume that investigation was shut down because I told Missouri Attorney General Eric Schmitt's office something that they didn't want to hear about someone that they didn't want to have exposed, someone that they wanted to protect. And that's the problem. There's a very powerful member of the Catholic Church involved in my case. My friend the Cardinal, a cardinal of the Catholic Church, a potential future pope, who lived and worked with my abuser, Father Leroy Valentine, at the Church of the Immaculata in Richmond Heights for 2 years. I believe the Archdiocese of St. Louis is doing everything in its power to protect my friend the Cardinal because of his proximity to the papacy, the possibility that my friend the Cardinal could be the first American Pope. And I can only conclude, based on the actions of the Office of Missouri Attorney General Eric Schmitt, likely Senator Eric Schmitt, that Eric Schmitt helped the Archdiocese of St. Louis and the Catholic Church cover up the crimes of my friend the Cardinal. My friend the Cardinal lived and worked with my abuser for 2 years at Immaculata. Much of my abuse, grooming, testing, those kinds of things happened in the rectory that my friend the Cardinal lived and worked in with my abuser. There's no way that my friend the Cardinal couldn't have known what was going on in the rectory about the abuse by Father Leroy Valentine, because it was happening right under his nose. You know, I have stories, others have stories of abuse that happened upstairs in the rectory at the Church of the Immaculata, where my abuser would take me and others. I know of multiple others who told this story. Basically, my abuser would take guys up to his room in the rectory and proceed with the testing process, the grooming process. All of this would happen in proximity to, and in some cases in sight of, my friend the Cardinal. I told Missouri Attorney General Eric Schmitt's office that information, that story, in late July 2019 as part of the investigation of the Archdiocese of St. Louis, and I believe that knowledge is why Missouri Attorney General Eric Schmitt killed the investigation of the Archdiocese of St. Louis within days. And it gets even worse. So September 2019, Missouri Attorney General Eric Schmitt held a press conference downtown in the old post office building to announce the results of that investigation, which was a whitewash. You know, they were trying to help the Archdiocese of St. Louis and the Catholic Church cover up the crimes of my friend the Cardinal and other powerful people within the Archdiocese of St. Louis. Cardinal Burke, Cardinal Regali, Archbishop Carlson, Cardinal May. The Missouri Attorney General's office under Attorney General Eric Schmitt helped the Catholic Church cover up the crimes of priests, archbishops, cardinals in the Archdiocese of St. Louis. Eric Schmitt put Catholics and his church before the people of Missouri. And the worst part was, you know, in September 2019, I tried to attend the press conference announcing the results of the finding. I wanted to be there. I'd seen Pennsylvania Attorney General Eric Schmitt hold his press conferences regarding the Pennsylvania grand jury report. I assumed that Missouri Attorney General Eric Schmitt was going to hold similar press conferences, or at least would be survivor friendly as Pennsylvania Attorney General Josh Shapiro was. I could not have been more wrong. I ended up walking into the press conference with a KMOV photographer and was confronted by 10 to 12 members of the Missouri Attorney General's staff who, after a 10-minute conversation, brought in 3 St. Louis police officers and forced me to leave the room. A survivor who was simply trying to attend Missouri Attorney General Eric Schmitt's press conference, along with Tom Albus, who I know from Mary Queen of Peace, the press conference announcing the results of the quote-unquote investigation of the Archdiocese of St. Louis. Eric Schmitt was too much of a coward to face a survivor. He refused to face me, I believe, I can only assume, because Eric Schmitt was trying to help the Archdiocese of St. Louis and the Catholic Church cover up the crimes that happened in the 70s and the 80s at Immaculata and other places. Eric Schmitt put the Catholic Church and the Archdiocese of St. Louis before the people of Missouri. Eric Schmitt refused to do his job, which is understandable. It makes sense. It makes a certain sense, but it's wrong. Now, this video likely is going to have no impact on the 2022 election. Eric Schmitt likely is going to be elected to the Senate, but the fact is, he did what he did, and I'm here to say what he did. The world needs to know, the story needs to be told about the misdeeds of Missouri Attorney General Eric Schmitt, what he did and did not do in the face of the Catholic sex abuse crisis, in the face of the sexual abuse of children in the Archdiocese of St. Louis, how instead of protecting the people and the children of Missouri, Eric Schmitt decided to protect the Catholic Church. It's an understandable act. It happens all the time, but I believe in accountability. And as a survivor, I refuse to let someone like Eric Schmitt off the hook, even when I'm a conservative and generally tend to vote Republican. But what Eric Schmitt did is despicable, a despicable, cowardly act, and it needs to be exposed. I don't know if this video will ever make a difference, if this will have any impact, but I view it as my obligation as a survivor to stand up courageously, to call out Missouri Attorney General Eric Schmitt for what he did and did not do in the face of the Catholic sex abuse crisis.